I grew up in a close-knit, Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. You know, one of those neighborhoods where everyone knows your name? My entire childhood world was about 3 blocks square. We worshipped, shopped, played, and went to school there. I felt really safe in this extended family neighborhood. The doors to our row houses were always unlocked, and all the adults were our aunts and uncles, even if we weren't related. This meant I had a lot of cousins. You know, it seemed like there was a birthday party every week. My childhood innocence shattered one day in Aaron's grocery store when I saw numbers branded on a neighbor's arm. That moment changed my life. It was my introduction to the Holocaust. A child couldn't begin to understand. The horrible stories from survivors in our neighborhood began to torment me. They crept inside my body and stayed there. This is the story of my journey to confront the fears I've struggled with since that moment 40 years ago. I wondered, if I walked on the very ground where the Holocaust occurred, could that help me somehow? I took a film crew to document my journey because as an author and teacher, I've counseled thousands of people struggling with issues related to the Holocaust. My hope was that this film might help them and anyone troubled with any trauma from their past. My colleague and friend, Dr. Gay Hendricks, a renowned pioneer in the field of body-centered psychotherapy, offered to accompany me and provide professional assistance. We first visited the remains of what was once a thriving Jewish community, all destroyed in a single night in 1938. Kristallnacht, the Nazis' concentrated campaign to bomb and eradicate any presence of Judaism. A nearby memorial honored the displaced victims who left their homes in cattle cars that only went one way. As I stared at the empty tracks, I tried to imagine their exodus. The following day, I visited with Dr. Hendricks' wife and partner, Kathleen, who was in Berlin conducting professional group therapy. She had discovered many common psychological issues in Germans and Jews related to the Holocaust.
There was a level of frozenness in almost everybody that I saw. And the moment that people using some of our approaches got underneath that frozenness, a huge amount of grief and feeling that they'd been unaware of emerged and really surprised them. And what we discovered together was that they had been carrying their parents' guilt and grief and anger without really realizing it. When they began to let go of that, there was a sense of them actually coming up out of a cringe that many of them had been, or a kind of frozenness. My sense is that the main theme for the children and grandchildren is they're not knowing what happened. Not knowing what happened for their parents or their grandparents. And it became a secret.
Katie told me that during her therapeutic work with Germans, Holocaust issues often arose. She spoke about one client, Jörg Presslaber, who was about my age. Jörg and I had many similarities, according to Katie, and differences. His father and grandfather had been German officers. She thought Jörg might be willing to meet with Gay and I, and that he could help me understand the Holocaust from a different point of view. Gay employed body-centered therapy, which helped Jörg go beyond just thinking and talking about his Holocaust trauma, to feel and breathe into where it resided in his body.
My father was officer in the Second World War. He was first in Poland, then in Narvik. And what he doesn't like to tell about the war. Sometimes he tells he had the courage to refuse.
Refuse?
How should I say? When he was told something to do, for example, to shoot people, he told me he refused it.
Yeah. Just feel it. So take a moment and open your eyes and imagine, just look into my eyes for a moment, and if you were going to ask him one question before he died about the subjects, what would that question be?
Well, I could ask him if he killed somebody who was innocent, who wasn't fighting.
Okay. And just like you were going to ask him, how would you say it? Like, what would you call him? What would you call him, Father? Or?
Yeah, Vater. What I want to know, and it's hard to me to ask, for I never asked you. Did you kill somebody of the civil population there, wherever you've been?
Okay.
Jörg agreed to accompany us to former Nazi SS headquarters, where Hitler orchestrated his final solution. As soon as I walked up here, I felt really nauseous. I felt like a sick feeling and then starting to read the names and the faces. I've seen a lot of these faces, like Himmler and Goering and Goebbels, and they just represent, the ultimate villain, ultimate hater of me. This man right here, he looks exactly like my grandfather. It's just my Zadie. I feel very sad just looking at his eyes. It's me. Emotion of why. Totally lost and sad.
Yeah, where am I going? What am I doing here? That's what I see in his eyes.
Yeah, why? What happened? The resemblance is pretty amazing. Pictures like this, just degrading.
Yeah, this is it. This is real. This is what actually happened.
So helpless. At one level, I understand it. I understand hate, and I understand how much fear can drive someone to want to eliminate someone else. But there's a whole other part of me that doesn't understand any of it.
Yeah, it doesn't compute. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And that picture tells it all right there. And I guess somewhere down deep inside of me, there's a fear. There's a fear that I could be there one day, that this would ever happen again. I don't want to feel it anymore. So if I feel it, it's too much. So I noticed I get unconscious. At the same time what's coming, how can I cry? It's not so what they experienced. That's painful, not what I experienced.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That, like, even if you feel sad or I feel sad, it's like
Nothing against.
Am I entitled to feel sad compared to that?
Right.
What do I have to feel sad about?
Right.
Yeah.
Now I felt raw and vulnerable. While I was uncovering the depth of my feelings, Jörg said he felt numb and confused and asked for help. We returned to our hotel room where Gay urged Jörg to go deeper into his feelings.
What is it for you that's in there that still hasn't been felt completely?
It's hard just stepping in from a Sunday into that room and into his past history. And yeah, I've just been standing there and watching the pictures. It just moved me deeply into tears. Over there, people don't cry, but I had the feeling of really crying. I prefer staying frozen, not contacting my fears, than stepping out and really first change myself.
What I'm really wanting is that Germans and Jews and all the people around the world can just be able to come face to face like we are and resolve some of the issues that we have from our childhood, things in the past that are keeping us from really being who we are today.
That's what I really want. And I think first we still have to face what's inside of us. So I have to face what's inside of me, what keeps me away, just being with you, with other people. And I'm so glad if there's somebody else who wants to face that too. That makes it easy, or a lot easier.
I had found a healing ally in Berlin, incredibly, the son of a German officer. I wondered if Jörg would talk to his father now. I knew my next step, Warsaw, near where my grandparents used to live. When we arrived in Poland, our interpreter Malvina, whose own grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, told us about an abandoned cemetery on the outskirts of their village. We decided to visit. So many people in my family and friends don't want to go to the Holocaust Museum, couldn't understand why I'm coming here. It's like, leave it alone. With Gay's support, I explored my feelings of sadness, which turned to anger about my grandparents being forced to leave their home.
You know, this is your grandparents' soil. You know, this is who they were. And they didn't leave here voluntarily.
Angry.
They knew they had to leave. People were telling them they had to leave, but they were saying, I don't want to leave.
I don't want to leave. They didn't want to be walled in into the pogrom. They were tired of hearing that Jews were killing the children for blood to make matzah. And they knew if they stayed, they'd be killed. Yeah. A lot of courage.
My grandparents did that too. They had to leave a place they didn't want to leave to get to some place to survive.
Yeah, wherever you are, Zadie and Bubby, I came back to your land. I'm sorry you went through what you went through, but I came back. Yeah, I came back to your land.
I was just seeing their images in my mind when you said Zadie and Bubby. I was seeing Granny and Granddaddy.
Yeah, I know it'd be great. I want to stand this up. I want to leave knowing that
that we can stand up again. Yeah, just stand up.
The next day, we drove to Krakow train station to follow the route millions of Jews had taken from Krakow to Auschwitz, the most infamous death camp of them all. Images of the Holocaust had haunted me. I'd struggled to repress them for 40 years. Now, walking beside these infamous train tracks, I couldn't hold them back any longer. They flooded into my mind's eye. Many times in the past, I had imagined taking this train ride. Now I watched old Polish farmers lifting their heads to watch our train pass by, just like they watched 50 years ago. Trains, full of people who never returned. Surges of long-suppressed anger and sorrow rushed through my body. Millions of Jews had been horribly murdered. But for quirks of time and place, I could have been one of them.
Wird aufstehen, mein Mädel, wird es sein, als Sachbräut.
Auschwitz, the German name for Auschwitz, is located 40 miles west of Krakow. 2 concentration camps were built here after Poland's defeat in September 1939. Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II, otherwise known as Birkenau. 4.1 million people were murdered at these 2 camps. The sign over the entrance to Auschwitz promised work and you will be free. Auschwitz today has been cleaned up to look more like a college campus than a death camp. Buildings that once housed SS executioners and inmates are now a museum complex.
hardest part. The little children, so terrified. Yeah. Toothbrushes, too, all brushes. Just took everything. Boy, their leg braces and their crutches, and they just took all that right from them. Artificial arm.
Throughout my life, one of the Holocaust images that had touched me the deepest was an old film I saw of brave and faithful victims at the execution wall, praying to God and singing the holy prayer, the Shema, as they were murdered. I was moved to honor them in song.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
The next day, we returned to Auschwitz. As we entered the gas chamber and then the crematorium, the true horror of the Holocaust hit me hard. The nightmare became vividly real.
It's real, you know, it's just so hard to take. It's so real. Oh, God.
We took a deep breath in honor of those who took their final breath right here. Over 3 million people died in Auschwitz, and many were incinerated in this crematorium. Half a mile away, Birkenau, the Nazis' murdering camp where over 1 million people were killed, some tortured in horrific medical experiments. I went into shock. Gay shook with emotion. Birkenau felt like the darkest place we had ever been. Unlike Auschwitz, everything remains exactly as it was on the last day when the Allies liberated the camp. Writer Primo Levi, a Birkenau survivor, visited the camp and reported, "Nothing has changed. There was mud and there's still mud. Here nothing has been prettied up. Rows of wooden barracks intact, terrifying, stretching out as far as one can see." Gay and I entered what was once a men's barracks.
Poor brothers. What you went through. Sleeping in this cold weather with nothing to wear. It's just so huge, just so big. To think of how many people were here. Oh, God, it's so ugly, dark.
The terrible reality of where I was overwhelmed me. My breath grew shallow. I felt faint and lowered myself onto a narrow, hard wooden plank, which at one time would have held at least 5 men or more. First, my body felt frozen stiff. Then my legs began convulsing. I wanted to shout, "Get me out of this place!" But I found that I could not speak.
I just feel the feeling of what it felt like to give up. It's like all my human spirit and fight's just been taken away. I don't have anywhere to go. I can't do it anymore. I can't. It's just easier to just give up. It's just too big. It's too big. I need to walk around in it. I just need to walk around in it for a little while. The place is just too big. It's too much to take in. Oh, God. Somehow could it happen? How could something like this happen? I just don't get it.
Something in my body relaxed. Somehow, expressing my outrage and releasing some anger loosened the Holocaust grip in my body. Unexpectedly, our cameraman Eli asked the director to take over so he could join our conversation.
The words, "the worst place ever," always keep coming to my mind since I've been here. And I hope that everybody can find a way to breathe through the worst place ever, whether it's here or inside themselves.
Yeah.
Eli walked away, obviously disturbed. We learned that his father had told him on the phone, just the day before, for the first time, that he had been a prisoner at Barracks 11, right here at Birkenau. And his Aunt Fagala had died here.
I'm really glad that you joined us on this journey, and you know, I know your daddy slept in one of those. Now I can really know that this image, this haunting place that I've always, all my life, at some level, avoided and denied. Yeah, I've been here, I faced it, I see it now.
Yeah. This is the worst experiment human beings have ever done.
Yes.
And now the big experiment is to turn all this around and say, okay, what's the best experiment we can create?
Yeah, let's take that out of this.
Yeah. Time to go home.
I'm ready to go home. And you know, God bless, because we can go home. This was the last stop.
3 million Jews once lived in Poland. Less than 5,000 remain today. Anti-Semitism still exists there. a Jewish cemetery near Warsaw was vandalized on the day I visited Birkenau. At the same time, a cultural revival is underway. After the concentration camps, it was important for me to experience this too, before I went home. I visited the Jewish quarter in Krakow. I felt joy there, new life, with their restaurants, theater, and the synagogue. The synagogue is 500 years old. During the Nazi occupation, it was converted into a horse stable. Now it's been restored. I donned my family prayer shawl and recited the Kaddish, the mourner's prayer. I honored the passing of my grandparents in their homeland, as well as the victims of the Holocaust. That evening, we attended a dinner concert at Ariel's, once a mikvah, a ritual bathhouse, now a restaurant and nightclub. A lit Sabbath candle was clearly visible from every seat in the restaurant. To me, its flame, small yet burning intensely, symbolized the light that shines through even the darkest shadows and the human spirit that can survive a tragedy as incomprehensible as the Holocaust. The man who rode the train back from Auschwitz was not the same man who went there. Of course, I could never know what a Holocaust victim had gone through. But by visiting these places and confronting the feelings I had about what had happened there, I had taken a first step towards release from my prison of the past. I hope this film record of my journey inspires you to do what you must do, to face whatever past traumas still live in your body, and to find the beginnings of freedom to live with peace in your heart.